Yo. Let's see if we can have a little bit more success today than yesterday. I recently upgraded to Unity 6.2 and migrated my project, so all of that should be done. Everything is playable, works as it did. Yo, what's up, Klaus? Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday so far. So, the idea is to take this node system we're building for generating the visuals of our creatures and implement a... Like, we want to be able to define this visually, much like shader graph. We want to be able to define this. So we're going to do a custom tool for Unity, and we're going to use Unity Graph Toolkit to hopefully successfully do this. So let's start easy. Let's just install it first of all. I think we shouldn't have any problems here, but you never know. Okay, first problem is that we have changed. I think we had, here we have package management, package manager. And don't think it should be too heavy. Too big. Yo, good morning, Harukanan. Okay, I think we have it. Experimental, but that's okay. And by installing this one, we should have Graph Toolkit. Unity restricted. Okay, actually, let's check over. Yeah, let's do it. I don't really care about that. I want the source files. Let's see. I don't care about that. Backgrounds. And then we have the scene. Oops. Okay, so here we have the nodes. Okay. I want to see. Yeah, I guess we're going to start by following the documentation, and then we can reference this one every now and then. And what I'm the most interested in is how the runtime is solved. So we're talking about, I guess it's executioner. You know what? So these executioners are pretty much the equivalent of our nodes we have implemented here. Maybe we should rename them. Maybe they shouldn't be generation nodes, but I don't know, is executioner a good name? Maybe. Runtime node. Yo, what's up, Ayland? Scripted importer. Talking about this one, right? Yeah, I don't want to do the importing like this, I don't think. We'll see. Here we have runtime. It's called node as well. Okay, I get it. And now we execute, send in node. Okay. Not entirely, maybe we will structure it like this. I'm not sure just yet. It's quite similar though. Okay. Okay, fuck. How do I want to structure this in my project? Scripts, creature, visuals, generation, node system. Fuck, do I want to split it up in editor and runtime? Maybe. then again, I think I would like to have done that higher up in the... Nah, probably not. Okay, node system. We're gonna do editor. Start with this. Okay, let's dip our toes a little bit. About Graph Toolkit, introduction, what's new, get started. We're gonna wait with this, so we're gonna jump to this one. Define your custom graph class. Unity Graph Toolkit, what editor, okay. Creature generation graph. Asset extension, Simpleg. Yes, I want to know more about Simpleg. Simpleg, simple graph, I guess. The asset extension constant defines the file format Unity will use when saving your graph assets. Okay. How free can I be with the extension here? I wonder if the meta file... Could I do creature graph? Let's try it. Asset extension. Assets, create graph toolkit samples. Simple graph. Graph database prompting. Okay, if we just let this one compile, then so could we do... call it test. Oh fuck, I want to put it in here, and let's see. Create graphs. Graph toolkit samples, graphs. Okay. Creature generation graph. Sten. A new asset is created at the same path as an existing asset. The existing asset will be unloaded. I don't know. Okay, but here we have it. Sten. Dot creature graph. I'm a little bit worried about that one. We can open it up and we can move around. Okay, great. Beautiful, actually. And then we can add variable type. Okay, it's a little bit wonky, but it's experimental. And then we have float here. No favorites. Can we do int? Or we're gonna have to define these ourselves, I reckon. Default value, which is weird though. We'll get to it soon. Uses port on subgraph node. Okay. And a unique ID. Beautiful. What more can we do here? Group. Okay, here we just add variables. Okay, so the name of the graph, what type of graph it is. And here, whatever we highlight. If we don't highlight anything, we have the name of the graph. Okay. Now that's a good start, I guess. Can we delete these in... Yeah, we can. Okay, beautiful. Let's now add a node by adding a new class that extends node. And one sec, I want to add a... I want to put this in a namespace here. Namespace. So for pretty much everything else, we start with game, but this is not game. And I don't think I want to use... Do we want to start with editor? Maybe. So I think we have game.creature. Actually, let's go to set mesh, creature generation nodes. Fucking hell, I think I'm okay with this namespace for this one. Editor creature generation graph. Okay, let's create a node now. Interesting. Missing types referenced from, we'll get to it. Nodes. Okay, let's see. We have a few nodes, or the runtime versions of a few nodes. So let's create the editor version of these nodes. And I want to start with generators or instantiators. And I think we're going to start with generators. We're going to do the editor version of the dynamic mesh generator. I wonder if we can, like, these types are serializable. I wonder if we can utilize these in the node graph. It would be very handy if we could. So dynamic mesh generator. Do I want a suffix dynamic mesh generator node, or do I want it as a prefix node dynamic mesh generator, or do we want to skip it? My simple, like, I wonder is it stupid to have two classes with the same name, but they are in various namespaces? One is the editor version, one is the runtime version. I'm pretty sure I want to differentiate them easily. Yeah, so if we would to do dynamic mesh generator like this, we would be getting two. But are we still getting two? Yeah, we would be getting two like we were now, but two that are valid to open. And it's a little bit too long. I think I'm going to go with the very long name of dynamic mesh generator graph node. Or yes, and we want to extend node, right? Is that it? We want to make it serializable as well. Do we have a problem here? I'm not seeing the highlights I want, but okay, let's continue and see. what happens? On define ports, do we define input and output ports? Yes, we do. And my custom type here. Okay. Dynamic mesh generator graph node. Protected override void on defined ports, iport definition context dot add input port float. Just call it input here. Okay. So what I want to add as input for this one is, I think it's, yeah, so what we have in setup here is what we want to add as input to our editor nodes or our graph nodes. That's probably, I'm going to refer to the editor nodes as graph nodes. Fuck, or maybe editor nodes, because I want to call these nodes as well at the moment, but maybe we'll arrive at a better name. But okay, so for these nodes we have here, implement for our runtime nodes, our serialized reference or serialized fields are going to be our inputs to the editor nodes or similar. So this one, dynamic mesh generator, we have a dynamic mesh generator set up here because we want to be able to change between. So sometimes we might want to generate a plane dynamic mesh. Sometimes we might want to generate a cube dynamic mesh. And sometimes we might want to generate an icosphere right now. And if we generate a icosphere, we want to do it with radius. If we generate a cube, we want to send in size, which is a vector 3. So like the number of and the types of the input will vary depending on what type of dynamic mesh we want to generate. I wonder how, like, does this work? We can do my custom type here, but I'm still a little bit worried. I guess we will find out. It's a wrap already. Okay. Let's just try my custom type here. See what happens. What I'm worried about is that, like, we're doing hierarchy here. Or polymorphism. So plane is dynamic mesh generations. Let's try it. So this is what the node output is named, I reckon. So let's do float output, and here I want to use game dot creature generation. Like, they are private as well, so we want to make them public actually. This time around. Generation, and we have nodes here. Nodes. Dynamic mesh generator dot dynamic mesh generator setup. Can we change it to this? dot setup, like that. Yeah, it's a bit long, so we're actually gonna do using game creature generation nodes. What? Creature does not exist. Something is wrong. I'm not getting the correct highlights here. Dynamic mesh generator. Why? Creatures, okay. Explains it. Doesn't explain the highlighting issue, but okay, beautiful, this works. Still worried about this, but let's see what we get. So then we should be able to add a new node. Add node. Oh, setup constant. First, we're gonna add this one node. Double click. Dynamic mesh. Dynamic mesh generator graph node. It's a little bit wonky. It's this one overlapping here, but okay. And then we have setup and float output. That's beautiful. Setup. Did I name it setup? Yeah, I did. Okay. And then I want to add sticky notes. Add node. Setup constant. Yeah, this one I'm worried about, but we will see how. Yeah. 0110. What if I, instead of letting it be a general setup, we change it to plain setup? Yeah, we still can't change anything here, can we? Aylan, are you using the new graph toolkit? Hell yeah. Okay, so this sucks. Did I forget to serialize it? I don't think so. System serializable. System serializable. Okay, so what do we do now? Worst case scenario, we define 3 dynamic mesh generation graph nodes, 1 for icosphere, 1 for cube, 1 for plane. But I don't want to give up on a custom type input here just yet. What I'm wondering as well is, Yeah, so if we have a custom type input, we should be able to alter it, right? We have public here, so it should be visible. Type, data geometry type. We don't need to serialize an enum, right? Okay, I'm just gonna test one thing. System serializable public class test. Public int A, public float B, public string C. It's also weird. Like trying to click this one or select it is not too easy. Okay. Yeah, maybe we need. Yeah, yep. Maybe we need to do something for this one to be able to be rendered. But let's see. I want to try the test one here first. Okay, nothing. Hopefully we'll be able to fix this. My custom type needs to be scriptable object. Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's do a simple experiment first with a test type, scriptable object. And then let's see if we can create something like this with the scriptable type. Although I'm like, that means that we're gonna have to have duplicates everywhere. So we're gonna have an icosphere setup, which is our runtime setup, I guess. But then again, we can probably make these into scriptable objects. Maybe. What does that include, actually? Yeah, you know what? I think we can actually make these into scriptable object. Maybe. Although I do want to know, do we have scripting API? Here we go. Okay. I want to see if there are any, oh, what's the English word for it? Any cons of having this as scriptable objects. I don't think so. Because we're not going to use them the same way I'm used to using them. We're not going to have it as some centralized data storage. I guess it is in the graph, but yeah. I guess this is okay. Editor only function. I can't see any apparent cons, at least. Let's see if it works. So the only change we did is we changed the setup here to derive from scriptable object, which means that all of these three do. And then we jump back to graph node and we change this one to, we can start with setup and see how that looks. Okay, I get it. Okay. I get it. Maybe. I really don't want to define this. We're gonna have a scriptable object file, which we're gonna have to drag and drop here. Okay, let me try something else then. Let's try. Yeah, maybe let's try geometry type. I want to see what happens if we have this one. Creatures generation. Okay. Come on. Game creatures generation. Now we have data.geometry type. Nodes. If I were to do okay, this works. Oh yeah. Mm. Because what I would like here is, I definitely don't want to add the need for this. I don't think. Like, I would love if we could. So if I choose line here, we show some specific inputs. If I choose plane, we show some. So if I choose point, the only other input we have is a vector 3 position. If we show cube, we have position, which is origo, and then we have a new vector 3 that is size. If I choose icosphere, we have position, but now we change the vector 3 size to a float radius. Yeah, I want to make sure we have something like that. Like introducing this one, not a big fan, because then we're going to have to define various other files here, and it's just going to be, I want everything to be centralized. Like when I define how my creature looks, I want it to be centralized to one file. It would really suck if we would have to reference other files and stuff like that. The documentation so far is pretty, the introduction and stuff here is pretty, it's not much, let's put it that way. So I wonder if we can take a look at, okay. Glossary. But do we have node? So it has to be Unity Graph Toolkit Editor node, right? But let's see. Graph Toolkit node API. Bigger number. Like what I'm looking for is if we have some method or something that when some value change, we update the visuals. Let's see. Define options. Ooh. Hmm. Okay, I don't know if we can do something fancy like this right now. Hmm. Okay, I want to try. See here. Okay. Now we have setup here. Okay. Hmm. Thought we would be able to define it here then, but maybe not. Okay, I want to see what happens if we remove this one again. I just want to see how it looks up here. If we select it here. New variable of type setup, but we can't change anything. It's unfortunate. Yo, what's up, Quincy? Just playing around with Unity Graph Toolkit. How about you? Yeah, we're gonna double check this sample here. What do we have? Node, set background node, sprite. String sprite location. Yeah, that's just an enum string. Dialog node, okay. Start node. wonder about this one. Visual novel node. So add input port without any specific type. I just want to test this one real quick. Quincy just coming off a high of finishing the most fire thing I've ever made. Fucking hell, enjoy, man. So what's this one? Is that... I have no idea. Okay, yeah, of course. It's for our nodes. Makes sense. I mean, we could define one way to do it, which I'm not that big of a fan of, is we could just have inputs for all the different types. So origo, radius, size, I don't know, secondary point, whatever. And then depending on our geometry type, we utilize. That's not very, it's not very nice. Doesn't look very good. Or we could, yeah, we could do it like this. Let's see. Or could we do it like this? Okay. This does, however, feel like a stupid way of doing it, but let's try it. So geometry. So then we do plane, graph, node. For a plane, we probably just want and could we do so context add output port, and here we add geometry, what is it called, dynamic mesh generator plane setup. I guess we could be a little bit less specific here, but let's see what we have. Plane setup could not be found. Generation data. Oh yeah. Dynamic mesh generator. Then we add node plane setup constant. Type. Yeah, this one doesn't work, but if we do add node, Canela would love it as a constant though. There's really no reason to have it as a node, but I mean, we could do this. And then we have a plane as output. Node properties. Can we set this? Okay, I get it. Yeah, fucking hell, maybe we can do it like this. Plane graph node. Orthonormal. So then in dynamic mesh generator graph node, we remove this one and we call this one geometry, maybe. Remove this one, and what we want to output is, okay, maybe this is starting to take shape. Let's see here, dynamic mesh. Dynamic mesh, there we go. And it's data, dynamic mesh. Build. Isn't this pretty cool? And then we go like this, and then we have dynamic mesh output. Okay, I would like to have some other names here. Context, iPort definition context. With display name. Okay. Is that maybe a better name or better way to do it? So we do add import type or add input port. Is that internal name? Well, let's do geometry. Dot with data type with display name geometry. With connector UI, I think let's go with circle. Although I like to be explicit, so let's keep that one as well. Add input port geometry with data type. I think this is the most important part. Then we have a display name, connector UI, and then I probably would want a tooltip as well. But I'm having a hard time navigating this API here. I don't even know if it's possible. Let's see if this one works. Is a type. Yeah, okay. Okay, can we remove this one? Fresh. Add node. Dynamic mesh generator. Okay, there we go. Dynamic mesh generator graph node takes geometry type setup. Yeah, we want to get these tooltips under control later on. Plain graph node, and it returns dynamic mesh. Yeah, I want to be able to remove or change the name of these. Hey, don't we need to serialize it? Maybe we don't. Okay. And let's take a look at the sample real. Ooh, maybe we can do. Like, I'm wondering about this. The title of these nodes. Can we change them without changing this one is what I wonder. Base dot. Better luck just trying to find it here. Classes graph node. UI behaviors, custom logic. inode. Find node. Ports and options. Undefine ports. Okay, we probably don't want to call this one. I'm interested in undefine options. Protected. These are public. Why is this one public? But okay, here we have node options. I guess it's this one we want to alter in undefined option. Ooh, now we're talking. This sucks, however. Add node option. Oh, node options. Ooh, maybe. That's pretty much what we want to have. Maybe that's the better option. Okay, we're gonna try a few things here. Okay, so options are like options on the nodes, not by input. I get it. Too bad we can't change the name. But we're gonna look into that soon. But let's try this one then. Dynamic mesh. Let's add a little bit of a setting here. Add node option. Label. Type of string. Tooltip. Default value. Oops, I fucked up. We don't want to put this here. We want to put it on define options, I options definition context, could it be? Okay. Undefined options, I option. Hmm. Hmm. So we're just gonna pull this one exactly as it is. Yeah, but we want to change this to that and this to this. And remove that one as well. Hmm. Hmm. Am I missing something? Yeah. I'm wondering if this is the way you want to write it. Delayed. Okay. But why do we even have... So why does the documentation say that this undefined options, what am I missing? Fuck it. I like this syntax more anyway, so like this whole builder stuff. I think it looks nice. Okay, so we have this option. I want to try real quick to do context add option. I'm gonna try this shit again. We're gonna add a dynamic mesh generator setup option. My option 2 with default value null, maybe. Delayed. Yeah, I'm way too optimistic here. Let's do plain setup then. Yo, what's up, Spires? Thank you for the raid. Hope you had a wonderful stream, man. Thank you, appreciate it, appreciate it. Okay, so when I can see something for a brief second here. But okay. So when it comes to options on our nodes here, we can't run with dynamic mesh generator plain setup for some reason. It should be serialized. What if we did dynamic mesh? Let's add back scriptable object here. Alon, I think Scambot just joined my Discord server. It have all the red flags accounts. It's new, but I'm just waiting for it to send a scam message so I can ban it. Probably gonna come when you sleep, man. Yeah, and then we have the same issue here. Okay, yeah, so what I would like is, I want this set up, but here. Yeah, we don't need these as inputs. That's what I'm getting at. Or that's the positive thing from all of this. But it's, why wouldn't you always want the option to have it as an input as well, right? So maybe we want to calculate the origo somewhere and send it in. Most of the time we don't, however. But like, when do you want to go with options like this? Okay, I would love to be able to have, if we could have here we do, or actually no, here geometry type, and with default value geometry type point, maybe. Yeah, Alan, I can't trust my own users. All the other time a user join ended up being a scam. But yeah, that's unfortunately how the internet looks these days. It fucking sucks, man. So yeah, this option, this is okay. This is definitely one of those cases where we want it to be like this, as opposed to having inputs like this. But it would be amazing. Oh, maybe we can fix this. Like if we could change the inputs and outputs when we change this one, that would be amazing. I would love it. So when we change, if we have cube here, then we have input origo and size, and then we change to icosphere, then we have origo, but we change size to radius, and radius is a float as opposed to the previous size of vector 3. But how the fuck am I, like, can I figure this one out by sifting through this documentation? I don't know, context node. I like the word dynamic. For compatible block node. Okay, what is a block node? Within a context node. Okay, what is a context node? Mm, mm, hmm. Would love more information here. What does delayed do? I option definition context, add option, I option builder, delayed configures the input port to use the unit. What I wonder is, on define or on define ports called during define node. So define node. When is this one called? Define node. I want to try one thing. Okay, we get it once for this one and once for this one. If I do this, ooh, oh, okay. Beautiful. This is exactly what I want. So when we change this one, what the fuck? And then we just want to, so then we can fetch this value and we can change, we can build it differently depending on what we choose here. Oh, this is great. This is great. But I still think I want it as inputs like this. Okay. So this is quite fun actually, building graph nodes like this. So in dynamic mesh generation node, on define options, we're definitely gonna have a define options. But we're gonna have it as, let's see here. Add option geometry type. We're gonna call it geometry type. With default value empty. Geometry type empty, delayed, okay. And yes. I wanna have dot with display name and with tooltip. Yo, what's up, Cynic? Yo. How are you doing? How have you been? Long time no see. And appreciated the subbings. With display name, geometry type. and width tooltip right. The geometry of the generated dynamic mesh. Something like that. Okay, so now we define this. See. It's been a long time no see indeed, been busy. That's nice. But now you're sick and can watch the stream again. I guess that's a very optimistic way to look at it. Hope you feel better soon. Okay, so dynamic mesh generator graph node, and we can choose which geometry type, and then I want to change the inputs depending on what we choose here. And we should be able to do that since every time we change this one, we call onDefine options and then onDefine ports. That's beautiful. So I guess we want to have a private geometry type current, and we're gonna make it into empty by default, and then we're gonna do put it here, and onDefine options. One sec, do we actually need this one? Let's keep this one here. I wonder if we can do, okay, so we want to be able to fetch this information. I think we can. So you have to try and see some light in the dark. Like that's what you need to do these this winter season, or when it looks as dark as it does outside. Definitely. Whoa. Can we, yeah, node option. And then we want to do get. Can't we try get value? In some way, we should be able to get node option by name. Which returns this one, and then we can get data type. Maybe. Yeah, let's do something very rough. Let's do. So here we do geometry type. We can disable this one, and we do current geometry type. Is equal to base.get option, get node option by name, get node option by name. We're gonna have to put all of these strings up here as statics, just clean it up a bit as well. But get node option by name, geometry type, and then we take this one. So this one returns a inode option, and try get value using the specified type. guess we want to do it like this. Try get value. Out current geometry type. Is that it? I think so. And then we do, let's try it. Switch, current geometry type, case. I guess we're gonna have a default first. Break. Then we're gonna have case geometry type dot cube. Break, but before we break here, I want to add the input geometry. Okay, let's try this. So the idea is, Sunik, good luck with the food, and you're welcome back anytime. So the idea is that when we define the option, or when we change the geometry type here in the option, we will rebuild the node, and so we will try and get the geometry type that is currently selected, and then we do a switch case on it and build nodes depending on the result here. It's pretty straightforward. Wonder if it will work. So right now we won't be having any input unless we select geometry type cube. So I'm going to start by removing this one, add node, this one, and now it's empty. We don't have any input. Point still empty, line still empty, but cube, here we get the input, and that's beautiful. I wonder if we can do this and then change back to point, and yeah, it gets removed. Perfect. Love it. So that means that if we select point, we just have origo. If we select line, we have two. Actually, if we select line, we have direction and start point and direction. Maybe only direction, actually. If we have edge, we have start point, end point. Plane is origo and normal. Rectangle is origo, normal, size. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, let's try it. Beautiful. This is actually pretty damn nice. We're gonna remove this one some later on, because this one is completely useless. So what do we have? Geometry type. So we have point, line, edge, plane, angle, triangle, actually cube, and I go sphere. Beautiful. point here we just want to build vector 3 Origo with display name Origo. Line is going to be normal, or actually direction. Edge, we're gonna have start point. End point. Okay. Origo. Fuck, do I want to call it center? And then we want normal as well. I don't know if we want bitangent and tangent for plane, and maybe even for edge. We'll see. Rectangle. For rectangle, we're gonna have these, but we're also gonna have one additional one, which is gonna be size. Actually, it's gonna be vector 2. Triangle is going to be 3 points, I think. Point 1. Point 2. Fuck, you know what? Now I'm actually thinking that we want to make this into a separate method that returns a geometry. So which returns, or a shape, which we currently call it. Probably going to change the name to geometry. We're going to fix that eventually. So let's add do makes because we might want to generate shapes for other stuff as well, not only dynamic mesh generation. Point 1, point 2, point 3. And then we have cube. And then we have icosphere. Okay, let's see. Pretty cool. Empty, just keep it like this. Point, line, edge, start point, end point, plane, orthogonal, rectangle. We get size here as well. Pretty cool. Triangle, cube, icosphere. And then we get a dynamic mesh as output. Wow, beautiful. We're gonna continue this. I just need to run AFK real quick, so be right back. Okay, back. Let's continue this. Should I move this one to a geometry node? No, maybe. This is very cool, actually. Hmm. Yeah, I don't want to move this to its own node just yet because we don't actually have a geometry node, or I mean a geometry class yet. It's pretty half baked at the moment. So let's just start with this one. But okay, so now after roughly 2 hours or almost 2 hours, we have our first node. And I want to build, before we run this and see if it works, or like I want to add a couple of more nodes before we try to get the runtime side of things working together with it, or couple them pretty much. So what did we have? We had generators. We had a dynamic mesh generator. That's the node we have finished. So I'm gonna minimize that one. I want to do mesh from dynamic mesh, maybe not finalizer. And then we want to do instantiators. We want to do these two, and we want to do these two, and that's pretty much it. Game object instantiator, material instantiator. Yeah, we just instantiate a material here. That's beautiful. Instantiators are going to be easy. Game object. Yeah, that's just a prefab. But it can be empty as well. We got to remember that one. Should be real easy. I'm gonna start by doing let's just mimic the folder hierarchy. So in editor and runtime, I want it to be roughly the same, at least when it comes to node names. So in nodes here, we're gonna add folder, converters, finalizers, generators, instantiators, and setters. And geometry, let's delete this one. I don't care about it. And dynamic mesh generator graph node, we're gonna put this one in generators. And then we're done with that one. Bam. Okay, next up, we're gonna make these big. Next up, instantiators. So I'm actually gonna take this one and we're gonna duplicate it. Move it to instantiators. Yeah, we get some errors. And we call this one game object instantiator. One more thing actually. In our dynamic mesh generator graph node, I want to add 2 more settings. Do I want to add them as nodes or as settings? I'm gonna add them as settings for now. I don't care about this one anymore. Yeah, maybe we should clean up these strings as well. But first of all, I want to add these two. So geometry type, no, we want to have this as float. Yo, what's up, Omar? Appreciate the support, appreciate it. And then an int, or actually I want to go int float. Subdivision and rounding. Subdivision. And then we have rounding. How much the generated vertices during subdivision should be rounded or should be offsetted. Spherically offsetted. Offsetted, is it even a word? Offsetted. Offsetted. 0 is no offset, while so is no offset. We don't need that one. Let's just begin with this. And with default value, subdivision is going to have a default value of 0, and rounding is going to have a default value of 0. Yes. I fucked up. It's this one where we want this. While over here, we just want to take okay. Okay, where the hell? I hate this. Okay, I get it. We want to remove this one. Okay, there we go, finally. So now we have geometry type, we have subdivision, rounding, and then depending on what we choose up here, we have various options down here. I think that's nice. Okay. Let's do private static private const string is what we're gonna go with. Geometry internal name, geometry type, internal name. External name. Tooltip. Actually, we're gonna call this one display name. And then tooltip. Did I fuck this one up? Okay, hopefully we can start reusing some of these eventually. I'm thinking Origo. Maybe you want different tool tips. We'll see. Origo, yeah. Radius size. Normal. Oops. Opa. Okay. Did I actually? Yes, I did. Okay, let's rename them soon as well. Let's see. Normal, internal normal display name. Oops. Size, radius, and then 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Okay, okay, okay. Finally. We're probably gonna make these public and put them in their own file because we're gonna use this one quite a lot. I'm wondering if I want to put them. Actually, yeah, I think we're gonna put these in their shapes later on. make them public, put them in shape, or at least these. And then dynamic mesh, this one we put in dynamic mesh. I think. Do we only want a public name here? I don't know, that feels a little bit weird. But maybe that's the way to go. My custom type output. Let's take a look at the sample. Novel node. Mm. I keep it like this. Maybe. That's a nice way to do it, I think. Gonna be even nicer when we have... We can probably put these in shapes, actually. Eventually, let's see if it still works. Oh no, do we still... Come on. Okay. Beautiful. Now let's jump to game object instantiator. And the methods define options. We don't care about options now, or do we? Maybe we only care about options, actually. Hmm. Yep. Yeah. And we're gonna have game object instantiator graph node. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have an output, by the way. That's true. Like this, and this. We want to do game object. And we want to reuse these. But you know what? Yeah. So game object instantiator. We're gonna add some additional settings here because right now it's a pretty simple node. We're gonna add one of the settings I'm the most worried about implementing actually. Game object instantiator. Let's see here, and then we can select. So for instance, we want this one to. We want to instantiate a lot of eyes on this creature. So then we take the eye prefab, put it here, and then we have this eye here. But I am not entirely sure just yet how I want to handle, like, we don't just want to instantiate one eye, we want to instantiate multiple eyes. So if we're going to return between 0 and infinity or between 0 and x eyes from this one, and every node that comes after is going to be applied to each and every one of those. I don't know if we want to do some node group type of solution or how exactly we're going to solve it, but we'll see. So either we have a node here that multiplies whatever we insert into it, or we add some settings here, like amount of eyes we want to spawn. And more often than not, it's going to be like a random value or a value between a range. So range might be the better option. And also, yeah, we're pretty much only going to have one input here. It depends on how we're going to solve the runtime side of things. We'll see. Okay, but here we have two instantiators, so to speak, or start nodes. One generates a dynamic mesh, currently an icosphere of radius 0, so nothing too fun. So let's put it to a 1. The other one just instantiates a prefab, pretty much. This one could, in its current state, just be an input, actually. But we're going to keep it like this. I don't know how much setup and functionality I want to have in this node eventually. But okay, so if we take a look at the node, the graph we have currently, we have so far successfully added the editor side or the visual node of Dynamic Mesh Generator and Game Object Instantiator. So both this one and this one actually. So let's see here. Material Instantiator, it's going to be very, very similar to our Game Object Instantiator. So yeah, let's fix that one real quick. I'm just going to duplicate this one. Rename it. Material. Like I want these to be okay. So this is internal and display name is the same, but yeah, that's okay. And then we change this one and this one to material. And I guess that's our third node. Picking up speed. So then we should be able to do add node, material instantiator node. We put this one here, and then we can take our creature eye material. We have two different materials, so that's true. We might actually want to do this. Maybe we want to make it into a list. Yeah, a lot of these nodes are gonna have random functionality. That's true. Yeah, we want to be able to instantiate a list here. Okay. Or define a list of prefabs here. I'm gonna add that to my to-do list. Make node settings into lists. Okay, so now we have 3 nodes, but okay, so for instance, we could take the I00 material here. So now we have 2 nodes here, one that spawns a game object, one that takes material, and then maybe we should be able to link them to a node called set material and set mesh. Set material, set mesh, set material in this case. But okay, so we're done with instantiators and generators. Done. So now we can either do setters, converters, or finalizers. Finalize, I think we can skip this one, maybe. Oh, fuck, I don't know. Um, the end node is still a little bit vague as to my understanding. But okay, let's fix set the setters. So let's do set material. Yeah, so here what we have, creature generation graph. I'm thinking, yeah, we're gonna add some public strings here. Because where do I want to keep these? Look very nice. You know what? Editor creature generation strings. Mm. We're gonna have to have them somewhere. So let's add. Maybe we can make it into consts eventually. Public static class strings, because I want to put it in namespace. And then what happens if we take these? Yeah, we don't want to make them, we don't want to have them as private. Creature graph, maybe we can put this one here as well. Yeah, maybe. It's better at least, I think. And yeah, we're gonna do it eventually for all of them. This one we can probably leave here. Okay, let's do setters. So I want to do set material and set mesh. Set material. Set material graph node. On define options, I don't think we need no options, but we need inputs and outputs. So I think the idea is that we're gonna have a input game object. And then we're gonna have a input material and then output. So yeah, when we have these set nodes, it's probably always gonna be the first input is gonna be what we return. No. Yeah, game object internal. Yeah, of course. Okay, so let's take this one and put it in this one. Great. So we should be able to do add node, set material graph node. So now I would like to introduce like subcategories here. So much like the folder hierarchy, I would like to do some nodes. Then we have different type of node generators, instantiators, setters. You get it. This one is definitely a setter. So the idea is that we do game object first. Okay, let's just reorder these so it looks nice and clean. Game object, material. And then we return the game object. This is pretty fucking cool. And I love these small icons as well. Am I gonna do them for my own specific types? Maybe, if I get the time. I would love to be able to set custom name here as well, which I think we will eventually be able to. So this one just dynamic mesh generator, material, game object, set material. It's gonna be so very nice, I think. Can't wait to see this one. What is this? Yes, okay, so that's set material. What more did we have when it comes to setters? Set mesh. Set mesh. So I'm just gonna take, yeah, we just, oh, did I, let's rename this one real quick. Graph node. And then let's duplicate it. And this one is going to be called set mesh graph node. Okay. Input is going to be game object again, output is going to be game object again, but now we're also going to have something called mesh here. Yeah, you know what? Set mesh graph node. Look at this, set mesh. We don't have anything to use. We can't use this one just yet. Eventually we're going to have a dynamic mesh to mesh graph node. So we're going to input this one and we're going to output a mesh, and then we want to take the game object here. But we're not quite there just yet. Okay, so now we're done with setters. Yup. And then we have the converter left. Although, yeah, because I don't think we will do a finalize node. Or do we? Yeah, maybe. Fuck, when I see this, so the initial idea was to just have this when it comes to the visual generation of creatures. But we probably want to have... so we have one subgraph that is the visual part of the creature, and then we have one subgraph that is the properties of the creature, so the attributes, the speed, agility, whatever. Generating those. That would be really nice to define our creatures like this. But okay, let's do mesh from dynamic mesh. Ooh, okay, so let's decide how I want to name these converters. I think we want to go what it is. So input to output. So dynamic mesh to mesh instead of mesh from dynamic mesh. I'm pretty sure. So I want to rename this one. Dynamic mesh to mesh. Then we're going to have mesh to dynamic mesh as well. Could you have a node that can take multiple different type of inputs? Maybe. Dynamic mesh to mesh. Input mesh. Okay, let's rename this one dynamic mesh to mesh. Okay. I'm just gonna hide that one for now. And then let's do dynamic mesh to mesh. Let's duplicate this setter, put it in converters, rename it to dynamic mesh to mesh graph node. Like that. Input is going to be a dynamic mesh, and output is going to be a mesh. That's pretty much it. So we can change this one to mesh. And then input dynamic mesh. Oh yeah. So we can just do we want to, is it data? I think it's data. Input dynamic mesh. So then we can take this one. Yeah, we probably don't want this, but we could do this one and this one. But okay, let's see how our node test looks. Node system tester. Mesh from dynamic mesh. What object do we instantiate? Okay, so we generate a dynamic mesh. Like this, it sucks to look at it this way. Convert it into a mesh. Yeah, then we instantiate a game object, an empty game object. Fuck yeah. Okay, now I get it. So we actually want to do empty game object. Material is going to be creature. Do we have? Yeah, we don't have that material here. Let's just take iMaterial for now. So empty game object. And I think just to make it a little bit easier to read, we probably want to wait with the material. So empty game object. This. And then set material like this. Maybe. So here we generate a pretty simple creature, but still a creature nonetheless. Or not yet. We need to pair the visual graph system with the... Oh, I want to save as well. With the runtime graph system, which we're going to do tomorrow. But I think this is pretty nice. So, like a beautiful way to define creatures. So we can do... we want to generate a dynamic mesh. It's going to be a cube. It's going to have 0 subdivisions, 0 roundings. It's going to be a size of 1. So we get a dynamic mesh here. Then we take that dynamic mesh and we convert it into a mesh. But we could also use it for other stuff. But okay, so we have a mesh here. And then we instantiate a empty game object. And to that game object, we add the mesh, so set mesh. Our runtime node, which currently looks like this. So we try to get a skin mesh render. That's prior 1. If we don't find any, we try to get a mesh filter. If we don't find any, we create it or we add it. So yeah, we add the mesh we generated here to the game object we instantiated here. And then we have a set materials. We instantiate the material here and call set material. And the output here should be a creature of sorts, I guess. Pretty nice. Create placemat. Oh, is that what it's called? What is placemat? It's just easier for grouping stuff, I reckon. Yo, what's up, Jax? Placemat. And what more did we have? Sticky notes. That's pretty nice. Would love to be able to, so when we add nodes here, favorites, constants, and nodes, I would love to be able to add subcategories here. Otherwise, it's going to be very populated in the end, or a very long list. So if I can guess, node define node. inode extensions. I wonder if it's related to node options. Probably not. Define node. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to figure this one out tomorrow, but still, because I need to run now, still think it was pretty good progress for today. So now we have a way to build these graphs using Unity Graph Toolkit. So that's the visual part of it. We also have a runtime implementation currently. So tomorrow I want to first focus on cleaning this one up. Just adding a group or something here should be pretty straightforward, I hope. And then we're gonna see if we can pair the visual graph with the runtime graph. And eventually, it's like experimental and early, but like having a preview here as well of the creature we're generating. It's gonna look beautiful. But yeah, so happy with today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and have a great rest of the day. Peace.